Hey, this is Libby spilling all the political tea, straight politics, no chaser. You know the go to for all your political needs. Think the Bodega Boys, but political. It's millennial politics, served piping hot. It's double trouble this week. I couldn't bring myself to record for the past week and a half, 2 weeks since the debate because the media, the country, low ranking Democrats, and the Supreme Court have all lost their minds. And I'm going to explain how. And I will start this episode off with this. CNN CEO is a Trump donor. ABC CEO is a Trump donor. CBS's CEO is a Trump donor. NBC's CEO is a Trump donor. MSNBC's CEO is a Trump donor. New York Times CEO is a Trump donor. New York Post is owned by Rupert Murdoch. Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos. The Wall Street Journal is owned by Rupert Murdoch. So please be clear and be aware about where you're getting your information from. Use discernment and common sense. And if all else fails, damn it, Google the shit. Take the information that is given to you with a grain of salt and do your own research. There are apparently core networks spreading disinformation to Black voters, such as gateway influencers and platforms, far-right activists and media outlets, Black Manosphere on YouTube and other places, Black extreme nativists and separatists, health skeptics, foreign actors, etc. Don't fall for the okie doke. Get a reputable source. Do better. Now, some of the aforementioned outlets are calling for Biden to step aside and stated that he has cognitive decline and is not fit to run or be president. Look who is calling for that: the Boston Globe and the New York Times. And look who is their CEO or who owns them, and your concerns will be quelled. To help combat this, Biden wrote a letter to the Hill Democrats stating to cut the bullshit, simply put, as he is running for president, and the call for him to step down needs to end. I don't think they heard him. Thank God Black people decide who the Democratic nominee is. Politico had a headline this week stating just that, and I quote, "For 40 years, Black voters have effectively determined the Democratic nominee for president," end quote. And now, Cedric Richmond, a co-chair of Biden's campaign, said, and I quote, "I think it's interesting that not one African American member of Congress has called on the president to step down," end quote. And they never will. Please note, 9 out of 213 congressmen have called for President Biden to suspend his campaign. None of them are Black. Shocker. Now, the New York Post had a headline that stated, "America may soon be subjected to the country's first DEI president, Kamala Harris," end quote. And that is what this whole ageist debacle is about. If Biden croaks in his second term, the president will be a Black woman. Not only is she a Black woman, she is half Indian and the daughter of 2 immigrants, not 1. That's the real problem. And everybody mad. But what I always say is, if you wanted someone else, you should have voted for Hillary. Bye. And please note, the New York Post is owned by, drum roll please, Rupert Murdoch. See? Someone on Twitter said it best, and I quote, "Biden is fine. The media is in deep cognitive decline," end quote. My sentiments precisely. Future generations will study how media outlets called on Biden to drop out following a terrible debate performance, but not on Trump after being found guilty of 34 felony counts. A complete and utter failure of our media and our country. End quote. Someone else tweeted that. Then someone else said, Chuck Grassley is 90 years old and just got reelected, and people are freaking out about Biden, who's 10 years younger. Give me a effing break. End quote. Well, Maxine Waters said the same thing this week. She is older than Biden and sat on a panel and said the same exact thing. Go watch the clip. Auntie Maxine wasn't playing. Go watch it. Someone else tweeted, Biden is old is the new, but her emails. Which was the new, where is the birth certificate? End quote. Remember that? Remember when Trump started the whole birther movement and said that Biden wasn't born in America because he was born in Hawaii and Hawaii is not part of America, but it is because we conquered Hawaii a long time ago and killed their queen. Remember that? And then they said Hillary couldn't be president because of her emails, and then it came out that the emails wasn't nothing. Do you see the correlation? Do you see it? Okay, cool. Another tweeter said, the country didn't learn anything from 2016. It's pretty sad, end quote. Not a damn thing. And nothing from the 2000 election either. And that's my whole personal philosophy. I live on that one. And someone else tweeted, y'all are being duped worse than when the Russians got y'all 8 years ago. Wow. End quote. Ana Navarro, the co-host of The View and a former Republican, said it perfectly. Democrats need to stop making the case against Joe Biden and start making the case against Donald Trump. End quote. I think that says a lot. That's just so profound, especially coming from a former Republican. Jimmy Kimmel has similar sentiments, and I quote, the media has spent almost 2 weeks calling on a candidate to drop out of a race. Somehow it's not the convicted felon. End quote. Yep. But someone else said it perfectly on Twitter. Let's hold Biden to a ridiculous standard because we can't hold Trump to any. End quote. Wow. And it has always been this way, let's be honest. Look at the coverage of Trump in 2016, 2020, and 2024. The media uses kid gloves or doesn't touch him at all. Meanwhile, they throw daggers at Biden and other Democrats consistently and perpetually. I swear it's the late 90s all over again with Clinton, the media, and Kenneth Starr. Republicans have never gotten over the fact that Bush Sr. lost against Clinton, and they've been coming for Democrats ever since. I digress. Biden had a campaign rally in Wisconsin after the debate, and the Wisconsin governor, Tony Evers, said, we will vote to make sure the guy who has more felonies than Baskin Robbins has flavors stays the hell out of the White House. End quote. Biden also said at the Wisconsin campaign rally, and I quote, I am running and going to win again. End quote. I'm not a Christian, but Godspeed. After all this, Epstein's grand jury docs were released by a Florida judge. Yay, right? Guess not. Too bad nobody cares, especially the media. Like, didn't y'all beg for these files to be released? Now they are, and crickets. Apparently, Trump made a 12-year-old engage in lesbian acts with a fellow minor and sex slave for the sexual enjoyment of himself. And both were then forced to orally opulate Donald Trump. Did you hear what I just said? Go read it. And y'all want Biden to step aside? F you. How is this not breaking news? Well, let's refer to my handy dandy list again. CNN CEO is a Trump donor. ABC CEO is a Trump donor. CBS CEO is a Trump donor. NBC CEO is a Trump donor. MSNBC CEO is a Trump donor. New York Times CEO is a Trump donor. New York Post is owned by Rupert Murdoch. Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos. Wall Street Journal is owned by Rupert Murdoch. All of this is public information. Google it. The list is how Trump being a child molester is not breaking news. I rest my case. Regarding the release of the Epstein files, someone tweeted, so just to be clear, the Epstein files were finally released and no news coverage of a presidential candidate being in those files dozens of times. Got it. End quote. Please note, Trump flew on Epstein's plane 7 times that we know of. Confirmed. Someone on Twitter said it best. Why doesn't the media want you to know that Trump is a pedophile? End quote. Great question. Question that needs answers. Someone else on Twitter wrote, while Trump was raping children with Epstein, Biden was a senator working for the American people. Trump doesn't even deserve to be in the same conversation with Biden. End quote. Yeah, I concur. Didn't I say that a few weeks ago? That it is an insult to American politics that Biden has to stand on the same stage as Trump, nevertheless debate and run against him? But it is peak representation of the polarization of this country. The criminally innate versus the saints at this point. Someone on Twitter hit the nail on the head when they tweeted, the past 5 days has shown us why Republicans are able to deliver on their 20, 30, 40-year goals and Democrats are not. They're able to focus on big long-term goals because their voters vote every time. No questions asked. While Democrats literally have to beg our voters every year. Long-term goals are impossible on a year-to-year basis. End quote. This is so true. It's because a lot of so-called Democrats aren't Democrats. They are libertarians, centrists, conservative independents, i.e. former pre-Trump Republicans, i.e. Reagan Republicans. The party needs a purge. Period. Point blank. Clean house. Moving on. The Supreme Court is back at it again. They found that presidents have absolute immunity for exercising core constitutional powers. The key word in that ruling is presumption. Go read it. Leaving folks on Twitter to wonder, and I quote, just curious, does raping teenagers at Epstein's Island qualify as an official act? End quote. Questions that need answers. The ruling has essentially allowed a president to be a dictator or a king. The exact thing the founders created the Constitution to prevent and why the country was founded in the first place. Biden slammed the Supreme Court ruling and stated that he will not use the newly granted powers afforded to him. He should. However, this has caused several legal issues regarding Donald Trump's criminal cases, shocker, such as his hush money case, which The sentencing date is now delayed until September 18th. The judge has to review the new legal precedent now set by the Supreme Court to decide on Trump's sentencing. I cannot. Fani Willis's Trump case in Georgia is also hurt by the Supreme Court decision, as Trump can just say everything he did was an official act. I'll be damned. Again, someone on Twitter said it so correctly, and I quote, Trump, I can shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. Supreme Court, here, use our gun, end quote. Hillary told y'all. She said it. She said she was the last thing between you and the apocalypse. And y'all said she was being facetious and exaggerating. Well, I got a question for you. Is she exaggerating now that you don't have no rights? Questions that need answers. And this is why we cried on election night in 2016. Like someone had died. Because something did die that night. Democracy. And then someone else on Twitter said, to all you 2016 Bernie or busters, welcome to bust. Well done. End quote. My sentiments exactly. Everybody that didn't vote for Hillary voted third party, wrote Hammurabi name and wrote Jill Stein and Johnson and all these other people. This is all your fault, period, point blank. And if there's ever a chain gang slavery type situation in this country again, because history always repeats itself, then it's your fault. And I hope you leave the chain gang singing Negro spirituals and all kind of things. Have fun. Someone also tweeted, the Supreme Court is announcing that presidents are basically now kings during July 4th week. It's quite a choice. End quote. The founding fathers are literally rolling in their graves, or Mount Rushmore, wherever they at. They rolling in them suckers, because this is exactly what they did not want. A demagogue with no checks and balances running this country into the ground, and there's no way to stop him. No Supreme Court, Congress can't do it. Nobody. Like, this is exactly what they wrote that long document to avoid, being under a kingship, a tyranny. That's why they fled Europe, because they didn't want to be under a king. Remember the Boston Tea Party and all? Like, okay. Biden needs to expand the Supreme Court ASAP, and he needs to do a few other things since the Supreme Court granted him powers to do so. I think this will be the perfect opportunity for Biden to give Black folks reparations, as currently the modern day equivalent of 40 acres and a mule is $6.4 trillion. Make healthcare universal, wipe out all college debt, legalize cannabis, tax the rich at 25%, codify Roe v. Wade, the Civil Rights Act, Brown v. Board, and gay marriage too. All as official acts. Since the president is now a king, he also needs to order the DOJ to investigate the Supreme Court. Oh, and arrest Trump for the insurrection and fire all insurrectionists from Congress. Turn into dark branding, Joe. Remember, Nixon in 1974 said, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal. And then we found out all the illegal shit he did in office. Well, the Supreme Court just affirmed that statement. With this ruling, Nixon would have stayed in office. Think about that. Think about the hell we would have went through if Nixon hadn't left office. Elections have consequences. We told y'all the Supreme Court was on the ballot in 2016 and y'all wanted to vote third party. Well, where did it get you? Someone on Twitter called it, and I quote, a slow motion coup, end quote. He said, quote, today is as much of a blow to democracy on you and me and everyone as the violent assault of January 6th, end quote. And I concur. I really do. Someone else tweeted, the criminal appointed 3 justices and the justices ruled that the criminal should be king, end quote. Bro, you can't make this BS up. You can't. You can't write this. Shonda Rhimes couldn't have wrote this. I'm telling you. My thing is, if a felon can't be in the military and can't vote, why would you elect them to be commander-in-chief of said military? You jackasses. Questions that need answers. Make that shit make sense. Someone on Twitter said it just right. And I quote, would hanging Pence on January 6th have been considered an official act? End quote. Now that's a question that needs answers. Would that? Because they had the damn guillotine there, and I don't know how you get a guillotine. I don't know how you get that on the Capitol. Because whenever I drive into the Capitol, it's snipers on the roof. So how they got a guillotine, whatever, on the thing, like we in Victorian times, Edwardian times, I'll never understand that one. Like, wow. That's how you know it was an inside job. Because how they get that thing up there? And they yelling, I don't give 2 shits about Mike Pence. But I feared for his life that day. That man ran with his family for his life. Go on YouTube if you missed it. I watched it live. He ran for his life. He was not safe. He was in danger, girl. They were literally chanting, hang Pence. This is not funny. I digress. And then someone else said, the Supreme Court just made it even more important to elect a non-criminal for president, end quote. Please, for the love of God. Trump ain't the first criminal president, but he the first one that got convicted. Someone else tweeted, so if Joe Biden declared today that November's election is canceled and ordered the military to keep him in power, would that be an official act? Well, that's exactly what Trump tried to do, basically. So if Biden did it, would that be wrong? Someone tweeted, so Biden can't forgive student loans, but he can order a drone strike on the loan collectors, end quote. Well, maybe he should. Shit. Every time he tried to wipe out student loans, all the courts block it. He can only wipe out billions of dollars of student loans he already wiped out, but he can only wipe it out for certain sects of people. If they're a nurse, if they're a teacher, and this, that, and the third, all these red tape. So, I don't understand. The Rapid Plies said it best on Twitter. I'm glad it's anybody but Black folks who's trying to burn down America. Part of me is smiling that Donald J. Trump is proving it's not us who's the threat to democracy, this country. Because for years, America wanted you to believe Black folks is who you need to fear in this country. End quote. Ain't that the truth? Preach, preacher. One other person said on Twitter, how bad was today's Supreme Court decision? If elected, Trump could assassinate his political opponents as long as he cited a statute or constitutional provision for doing so. We are in real danger. End quote. Then someone else followed up by stating on Twitter, my favorite place on earth, I think Biden Harris will win. But if somehow they do not, former Democratic presidents and their spouses and children better leave the country. We're that type of nation now. End quote. Wow. Wow. We have fallen from grace. It's not funny, but you gotta laugh. Ain't that some shit? Someone else tweeted, democracy crumbles for a reality TV host and failed businessman. End quote. Think about that for a second. Democracy ends not only for a reality TV host and failed businessman, but a philanderer, rapist, child molester, racist, sexist, xenophobic con artist that buried his wife on his golf course, caused an insurrection, paid a prostitute hush money to keep her quiet about their sexual deeds that occurred shortly after his wife gave birth, and has a weird perverted fetish regarding his own daughter. Think about that. This is who we let in democracy fall for. Not Caesar, not Anthony, not Cleopatra. Donald J. Trump. Think about this, y'all. All because a black man was president for 8 years. And y'all gonna mess around and have a black woman for another 8. Because at this point, we'll never have another white president. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. It'll never be an all white ticket again. Too bad, so sad. Anyway, someone else tweeted this, and if you don't get anything else I say today, hear this. If you're 42 years old or older, the most important election of your lifetime was 2000. If you're 26 to 42, the most important election of your lifetime is 2016. If you're under 26 but old enough to vote, you haven't effed up yet, but are about to. End quote. I couldn't have said it better myself. I really couldn't tell you. It's just like watching this country and democracy circle the toilet bowl drain, like going down the drain, and you just watching it. It's like Mr. Pooh in South Park when they put him in a toilet bowl and he just circling the toilet bowl, making a mess. I can't. Now, this is my favorite part of the episode, which I call BFFR, like make it make sense. I think it's self-explanatory, but I actually did a BFFR a couple minutes ago. So here's another one. Now, to quell concerns, post-debate Biden did an interview with ABC's George Stephanopoulos, and he said what needed to be said. Watch it. And what did ABC allegedly do? They edited his audio so that his voice sounded weak and muffled. And ABC CEO is, you guessed it, a Trump donor. Enough said. This whole situation is insidious and not what I learned in journalism school. Just not what I was taught. Like, how is this ethical? How is this not against the journalism code of ethics? How is this not propaganda and illegal? I see how Hitler came to power because you people are idiots and the rest are complacent. Straight up. On a side note, remember that flirt variant I keep discussing? Well, COVID cases in New York have skyrocketed, and it's up 250% in 2 months. Hospitalizations are up 25% across the country from May 26th to June 1st. mask up. But I will say I have seen a lot of people wearing masks lately. So there's some smart people on the planet. In other news, this is an exact headline from ABC News, and I quote: a lawsuit filed against Northwestern University's law school claims that its hiring practices prefer less qualified women and applicants of color to better qualified white men. End quote. You can't make this shit up. Like, wait, what? Like, what? I just, I, who made you God? Who says that you are more qualified and they aren't? Is it what? Is it? Are you more qualified as a white man because you're more criminally innate? Is that what you're trying? Like, what are you trying to say? That the fact that you're a white man and y'all created these laws and y'all founded this country and y'all colonized it, so y'all done colonized the whole world, that y'all are more qualified than people of color and women? Is that your reasoning? Because I could see that argument being made. Like, I just, some things just leave you mind boggled, like jarring. Anyway, across the world, there has been a lot of damage due to hurricanes and other climate issues, aka global warming. Well, this Fox News headline said it best, and I quote: Jane Fonda blames white men for climate crisis, calls to arrest and jail them, end quote. It is sad that places like the Caribbean have to deal with the negative impact of global warming when they barely contribute 1% of the harm that caused global warming. It's a damn shame. And my prayers go out to them and all those impacted. And I agree with Jane Fonda. Lock them up. Some good news: a bill passed that stops universities from holding your transcripts because of money owed. Yay. Good. Where was this when I was an undergrad? Because they damn sure got me right after graduation, too, for like 20 bucks I owed. Or maybe it was 100, I don't know. And they said I couldn't print my transcript. Bastard. Anyway, honorable mention: the UK has a new prime minister, and he is part of the Labour Party, the more liberal party in Britain. Conservatives have been in power for 14 years, so they tossed them out. Haha. I hope the same thing happens in France, since they are going through elections as well. Viva la Revolution. Another honorable mention: Rudy Giuliani was disbarred from the Southern District of New York. Wow. I didn't think it was going to happen. Just like Trump getting indicted and getting convicted, I knew it should happen, but I didn't think it was actually going to happen, because he should have been disbarred. He should have been disbarred 2016 election, 2020 election. Now we in 24 and they want to do something. Okay. I love the great state of New York. Honey, I love my state. Like, damn. How do you, what do you have to do to get disbarred? I guess you have to cause an insurrection, steal one election, try to steal another election, and spread hate to the masses. I guess marrying your cousin wasn't enough. Okay. But the one thing about going to law school and graduating is that there is always a state in the union that will allow you to practice. He needs to go find one. Look, I will end this episode with this tweet. And I quote, "Nobody gives a shit that Biden is old. People care that Trump is insane." End quote. Thank you for listening to my political pontification. If you liked it, loved it, or hated it, please tell a friend to tell a friend. And please check out my website, The Political Tea. You can generously donate to my chai latte habit on it. Thank you.